Global polycrisis is a phenomenon that has been mentioned by World Bank multiple times. It's all about a crisis that happened multiple times, clustered together to become one bigger crisis that affected, especially for the developing nation. As a Malaysian, I took the responsibility to analyze and to do a research to ensure that Malaysia can progress to be better in handling this phenomenon, what we call global polycrisis. So I will present a few things about my research. We will go through briefly on the abstract, introduction, background, and then problem statement, objective, research question, the method being used, all the literature review, significance of the study, and scope of study, and lastly, we will go briefly about chapter outline. As I mentioned earlier, this study focused on the issue of global crisis, which referred to occurrence of many crises happening simultaneously around the world, resulting in a complex and ever-changing global environment. And as Malaysian, we see our state, Malaysia, has affected with this phenomenon severely. And I want to analyze it. So, in this introduction, I will go not in detail about what being done in this research, but I will go briefly to have the intention of the audience to know about what is this research all about. So, as I mentioned, this research focused on the global polycrisis, and when we talk about the general knowledge of the crisis, we have to know how to analyze it. And through that, I choose interdependence theory so that we can analyze it from that perspective. We'll go on that later on the background part. This research focused on understanding the interconnected impact on global polycrisis on Malaysia, particularly in terms of economic stability, societal vulnerabilities within the context of interdependence theory. Well, I will go on that later on. The proposed research is crucial in international relations. It's aimed to unravel Malaysia's weakness within the framework of interdependence theory amid the global crisis by identifying specific challenges so that policymakers can formulate a targeted strategy to enhance the resilience of Malaysia. The study employed a qualitative research design. I think I will explain about it later on as well. So moving on to the background. What is global polycrisis? I already explained briefly about what is it. Basically, it's a term, not necessarily new term, but is recently being brought by the World Bank because of multiple issue, multiple crises, for example, COVID and then Ukraine war, and go on the EU oil crisis, energy crisis, and that all clustered together. And at the same time, it become something what we call as a global polycrisis, where it's become more have bigger impact. So, what is interdependence theory? Well, interdependence theory is a theory under international relation where we explore about the interconnected between state and another state, as well as state in a bigger level, for example, in multilateral level. And we also acknowledge that the main idea behind the interdependence theory is state cannot rely on their own. They have something like spectrate, for example, connected to one another no matter what. And last, about Malaysia vulnerability, which is focused on Malaysia as a state is vulnerable from this phenomenon. Problem statement, I think I already go through that. The problem statement first is impact the world crisis on Malaysia, and second, vulnerability Malaysia societal system, and last, about the role of interdependence theory to understand this kind of issue. So I think I already mentioned a little bit about this background, and you probably have the knowledge about what is objective, what being told in this research. So in this kind of research, the first objective is to understand the global polycrisis using interdependence theory during this framework. And the second objective is to analyze the impact of global polycrisis on Malaysia economic stability. And the third objective is to propose mitigation measures to overcome this global polycrisis, as I mentioned, to make Malaysia more resilient. So research question is more like how we can do that. I will go on that more later on. So about research and methodology. So for this, I think this is a backbone of each research. I use qualitative method, and there's several of document being documented, being analyzed to ensure that we get the best result for this research, so that the policymaker who refer this can use it as something new and to make a new policy. So the first data being collected is from the official document and archive research. Next is from the media and secondary, which is more news. Internet based, which is more like on publication in internet. Media and secondary sources, more on like media, poster, internet, and so on. And also we focus on the book and publication, where it focus on book that are physically book, just like in my behind. So moving on to the methodology of this aspect, where first we use content analysis to analyze all the data that we already been gathered, and then we analyze each to specific term so that we can understand this issue very clearly. The thematic analysis and triangulation of data, where we have like a triangle, get A and B to get C. So that is summarize everything. I don't have much time. We'll go through on the literature review. So basically, literature review, we divide it into two parts. The first part is basically about these 5 researchers, where they have talked about interdependence theory. This basically everything is trying to have a better understanding of this theory, so that we can use it better in the field of the national relation to apply in this context of polycrisis. So basically, most of the weakness that can be notified in this 5 article are lack of clearance definition, where we will go in the research to be more clear, precise, perhaps. Same also go to the global polycrisis, where these 5 also it's basically being used to analyze and understand every crisis around the world in multiple layers, so that we can apply in Malaysia context. The gap, obviously, there are some of data, lack of focus, and we will use it as a potential improvement in this research. Significance of study is basically first through this research, identifying specific challenge in enable policymaker and academic to target strategies. Basically, all the policymaker can use this as a guide, as a framework to make sure Malaysia can be more resilient. Next is scope of study. So this research will be focused on the exploration of interdependence theory, as I mentioned earlier, and focus on identifying and examining global polycrisis phenomena ranging from economic downturn and public health emergency, environmental challenges, and geopolitical conflict, and contribute not only to the academic understanding of interdependence theory, but also to provide practical insight for policymakers and stakeholders in Malaysia, as mentioned in the significance of the study. So this is the outline of the chapter that we're going to be produced. So basically, the first 2 chapters basically talk about the proposal of thesis and behind all of the important stuff. But the main point is on the chapter 4, 5, and 6, where it focuses on the first, second, and third objective. I think that summarizes everything. I want to share a few words. First of all, thank you to Dr. Hussein. Terima kasih yang tak terhingga kepada Dr. Hussein Yusri Dawawi kerana dalam sepanjang mengenali doktor banyak mengajak tunjuk ajar kami. Semoga kita berjumpa tahun hadapan.